INSiiGHTS Sports Talk.
1, 2, talk and talk.
INSiiGHTS Sports Talk. Traveling the country for the biggest stories in collegiate sports. Bringing you the news that will impact every college athlete in America. From the Ivy League to the SWAC, Big Sky to the Big Ten, Notre Dame to Grambling U, Miami or Maine. No university is too big, no college too small. We tell it all. INSiiGHTS Sports Talk with your hosts, the coach, Mickey Clayton and Clayton Smith. They're bringing you insight on all the latest stories from all the biggest names in collegiate sports. Join us for the next 60 minutes for INSiiGHTS Sports Talk. The sports talk show of a different kind.
This is INSiiGHTS. INSiiGHTS is our online sports talk show, and I'm your host, Mickey Clayton, the coach. And my crew and I, we're going to give you an insight into athletics and what's really going on. This crew has over 100 years, that's almost a century, in terms of dealing with athletics, and we plan to share that information with you. We are determined to peel back the covers and let you see inside athletics. We have a wide array of topics we'll be covering in our weekly show. We are determined to educate you, amuse you, and entertain you. Today's show is hot. One of the hottest topics in sports today is the usage of PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. With me is my co-host, Clayton Smith, and we're going to jump right into the hot, controversial world of PEDs. Clayton, you ready to go?
I'm ready, Mick. Let's go.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into today's show. Clayton, share with us a little bit about what in the heck is a PED. I mean, that's an acronym that everybody doesn't always understand, and then the word is so long, you almost have to look it up.
Well, of course, PED stands for performance enhancing.
Yeah, spit it out. Go ahead, get it, Clayton.
Performance enhancing drugs. And that's something that's been around us for a long period of time, but it is anything that is deemed artificial and possibly illegal that will enhance your performance on the athletic field or on the court.
Now, you said something. Anything that's artificial, didn't we have a track runner that in the last Olympics had a artificial limb or something?
It was artificial.
Wow. There was some protests about that, right?
Right, there was some protests about that, but as far as PEDs are concerned, I really wouldn't consider that necessarily a PED, even though it is artificial, and it was very controversial, the fact that he had this artificial limb that possibly helped him.
Well, it didn't help him that much. He's in jail now, right?
Well, yeah, he's in jail now. It didn't help his brain.
Yeah, but man, that's another show that we got coming, exactly. Badass little kids, that problems in athletics.
It didn't help his decision making.
Yeah, it sure didn't help him there. Okay, but we have this history of things that's going on in the past all the way to the present, and we got a guy over there, GT. You got some clips you can give us that everybody can kind of hear on stuff that's going on. Just play something for us, G.
Jones was sentenced in January for lying to investigators about steroid use.
Ben Cousins is in police custody tonight. Alberto Contador tested positive for a banned substance.
Milwaukee Brewers 2011 MVP Ryan Braun is the latest Major League Baseballer to run afoul of anti-doping enforcement. He has been suspended for the rest of the year over his admitted use of performance-enhancing substances and involvement with the biogenesis lab run by Anthony Bosch.
Major League Baseball officials told New York Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez to accept a suspension deal for this season and next in exchange for avoiding a lifetime ban that would still allow him to collect much of the money remaining on his contract. The MLB said it has more than enough evidence that the 38-year-old used performance-enhancing drugs from South Florida clinic Biogenesis.
Wow. GT went back and pulled some stuff that really kind of gets you, didn't he?
I tell you, boy, that's something else.
But our research historian over there, Big Al, he got some stuff that he sent to us about PEDs and drugs, and there's one line in here, that really kind of got to me because they're talking back all the way with the ancient Greeks using performance-enhancing drugs all the way back in the Olympics. And it says, one line said the ancient Greek athletes also drank wine potions, used hallucinogenics, and ate animal hearts or testicles. They ate the nuts. testicles in search of potency. Yeah, now you really were trying to stretch a little bit to be a little better athlete then.
Do you think it helped?
I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. We got to find out what's going on. Animal hearts or testicles. Alvin really went in and he gave us so much information about people using the cocoa leaf and source of codeine and things. And, you know, when you ask Alvin to research some things, he really comes back. Even in 1958, the godfather of steroids, Dr. John Bosley Ziegler, you know, and how he had created a Dynabol that was used for FDA approval and all of this. And I mean, these things go on and on back through time. And as we get from that point to now, it hadn't really gotten a whole lot better. I mean,
no, if anything, it's gotten worse, in my opinion. But what you got is you got a group of people who are trying to stay ahead of the curve. You got people who are creating one thing and you make that illegal and they come up with something else. And this thing is, can you stay ahead of the chemistry?
Okay, what do you mean by stay ahead of the chemistry?
Okay, if you're going to have a product, when we were talking about steroids, we were talking about antibiotic steroids and so forth. If you're going to have a product that supposedly gives you the ability to increase muscle mass and strength, is that illegal? Is that how much more illegal? How much more is that against the spirit of competition as weightlifting?
Now you kind of lost me because I don't really know what the hell you're talking about now. So you kind of lost me. But see, in a sense, Clayton, to be honest, this is part of the issue to me in terms of people understanding what it is. When you put something out there for people and they're trying to understand what a PED is, steroids, creatine that a lot of the high school athletes have used at one time to get bigger and stronger. And, you know, what is the advantage or disadvantage in doing it? And when it starts to get into chemistry and what it does to somebody biologically, people don't always understand.
Well, that's what it is. It's simple chemistry.
Okay, but how does it help? See, I mean, you say it's simple chemistry, but, you know, we fussed a lot about our biology class. Right. And in the end, what you wanted to do was learn enough about your bodily function so that you could tell the doctor what's wrong with you. So, but sometimes it was taught in a way that you actually, like you were going to pre-med or something. And it starts to explain to people what it does and all of that. People don't understand. And I don't know, as long as I've been around athletics, that I really, really understand outside of somebody says, well, it's illegal. And say, okay. You're breaking the law. Okay. Well, the speed limit is 70. And if he's not out there watching, I'm going to run 75, 80, however fast I could go to get where I need to go. And say, are you breaking this? Yeah, I am, but I'm trying to get there. So, I mean, at what level, what point, and we're looking at all these things. And Clayton, we go back and look at it. And wait a minute, I think we have a medical doctor who will tell us if it works or if it doesn't work. You want to hear that?
Let's listen to
Hello, I'm Dr. Alex Martin, coming to you from Hollywood. Today I would like to discuss human growth hormone and the question of, does it really work? Many of you have expressed an interest in human growth hormone and have contacted me asking me, is it something that will really help me? The answer is yes. We know that at every age and for every person, human growth hormone has an effect. We see it often being used in our children of very short stature. These are children that are below the 50th percentile on the growth curve. They do need human growth hormone, and once it's applied, it does work. They grow taller. We know that our young adults who have muscle injuries or who have concerns about muscle development, when given human growth hormone, the injuries heal in 50% of the time that it normally takes muscles to heal. Our middle-aged individuals, 40 to 60, these individuals also benefit from human growth hormone because by age 40, 80% of our native production of human growth hormone is gone. By 50, it's all dissipated. So what we need to do is to look at how human growth hormone affects each group. Lastly, not to ignore our seniors, individuals over 60 are able to use human growth hormone to maintain their independence. They do not have to have caregivers, and they can delay the complications of the aging process by as much as 10 to 15 years, maybe 20 years. So the answer to the question, does human growth hormone work? Yes, it does. It affects every system of our body. It affects the brain, it affects the heart, the muscles, all of our bones, and all of the different systems of the body. This has been well documented, and the studies are ongoing now to show continued benefits of individuals using human growth hormone over the last 10 to 20 years.
Man, the way he explained that about HGH, it seems like almost everybody ought to try it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are trying it.
Yeah, I guess you got a point there.
A lot of people are trying it.
They say on and off the field, huh?
On and off the field.
Okay, well, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break, and Insights will come back to you after this commercial break.
1, 2, talk and talk.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Ronnie, how happy are folks who save hundreds of dollars switching to Geico? I'd say happier than a camel on Wednesday.
Hump day!
Get happy.
Yeah!
Get Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The mic is open. Insights is back. And we're here to continue our discussion on PEDs, PEDs. And what we were finding out earlier from a commercial, right before we went into commercial break, the doctor talked a little bit about the fact that it actually works. And I guess, Clayton, that's the issue. That's why so many athletes are using some of these things.
Well, I don't believe they'd be taking it. They really didn't believe it did work. And help them in their performance. Let's talk a little bit about anabolic steroids, though. The athletes take these anabolic steroids to increase muscle mass and strength. And of course, you know, testosterone is the main anabolic steroid that the human body already produces. And testosterone has two main effects on the body. Anabolic effects promote the actual muscle building, and the other effect is also responsible for male traits such as facial hair, receding hairline, deeper voice, and so forth. Now you have both men and women who are now taking these steroids.
Okay, now outside of making you have a thicker mustache and a beard, how does it enhance your performance?
Well, of course, these steroids help you with endurance and recovery. This is something that doctors have prescribed in the past to help injured athletes recover and get back. And so you got athletes look at this and say, hey, you know, if I take this before I get injured, this may help me in my performances.
Well, we have swimmers, we got sprinters, we got weightlifters, body lifters, and now you got all this you want to contribute. Now, when I throw it back to you, now I want you to be able to run with it now. Okay.
Throw it.
Say throw it. Right. The option quarterback,
right.
The pitch it. You know, and with people who are taking anabolic steroids, you look at Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis, and and that dates some of us, but even if you look at some of it, a lot of us, when we saw Ben Johnson, saw the picture of him, we were like, gee, he looked like a running back when he stepped. You don't find track athletes that were built and cut like he was. And there was always the rumors, going around about Carl, and even more with Ben, just because of his size and how, strong he looked, and he ran like that. I mean, he absolutely just ate up a track when he ran. And you look at some and you're able to tell, and you got bodybuilders that rely a lot on steroids, and when you see them, they're almost like Godzilla. They're just huge, muscles on top of muscles with a little bitty head that's stuck on top of them. Barry Bonds and, them saying how much his hat size increased from
Barry Bonds
fifth
is a
grade.
great example of that, like you said, because of the increase in his mass, his overall mass, and his head size. like you said. I mean, it was just incredible. The way he looked when he was in Pittsburgh back in the 90s, and then looking at him when he was in San Francisco later on in the early 2000s, it was like two different guys.
Well, what did steroids do to help Barry Bonds? I mean, outside of the fact that he was bigger, but it doesn't make you a better baseball player.
No, it doesn't make you a better baseball player. What it did for Barry, of course, it did not help his hand-eye coordination at all. He already had that down, but it did add muscle. It did add some strength.
Well, if you're a baseball player and you're a 115 hitter and you take steroids, you're still going to be a 115 hitter.
Like I said, it doesn't help you.
Now, you might hit more home runs than you hit.
Instead of you hitting singles, you're hitting doubles off the wall.
Okay, well, how does it help pitchers with Roger Clemens and?
Now with Clemens, it helped his the strength helped him overpower batters.
Okay, but in building muscle mass as a baseball pitcher, it seems like you still have to maintain a certain amount of flexibility to be able to. If you get too big as a pitcher, it just seems like it would affect your ability to deliver the ball, to have that range of motion in your shoulder and everything that's needed. That's why when I was hearing pitchers being involved, that just really kind of threw me a little bit, because I just always heard or felt that just created problems for them in their arm, having it flexible and loose. Can you?
And evidently it did. I mean, it did have a negative effect on him, because his body did end up breaking down. He had problems near the end of his career that he probably shouldn't have had. And it was because he was so big. Mm-hmm. But he could still throw accurately, and he could still throw strong.
Okay.
He was just a hard thrower, period.
So that and that allowed him to be a harder thrower, or to throw later in his career, because it seemed like some of the athletes picked up some of these enhancements as they got older to try to stay a couple more years, and get that one more big contract.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, did you pitch when you played?
No, I didn't.
What position you played?
I played third base and played first base.
Okay. So I played for a little while till they learned how to throw a curveball. Yeah, and they threw a curveball. It came in my head. That was the end of my baseball playing. I got my basketball and headed to the court.
Now, I did play in college, played baseball in college. And that is not something that I ran into collegiate baseball players back at that time, which was in the late 70s, early 80s. However, it was starting to rear its head in some other sports, and we did see it in track. That's when I started noticing it in track. I noticed it in football.
Well, right now, INSiiGHTS is going to take a timeout, and in fact, we're going to take an official timeout, and INSiiGHTS will be back in a minute.
1, 2, talk that talk.
Julio, I need to ask you a question.
What is it, compadre?
Did your mama get that hoodie at Kmart?
Yeah, dog.
Well, your mama must have calories, because that hoodie is sweet.
Oh, yeah? Well, your mama's like a tasty cheese plate, because she served a bunch of cheddar on them Kmart jeans.
Well, your mama's got so much game that she couldn't even store it on that tablet. Come on!
Your mom's so fashion forward, the future gone, they want those hot tops back.
Well, your mama's so fiscally responsible, she got all that on free layaway.
Shop Your Way members get free layaway at Kmart. New school year starts here.
Coming out of that break, INSiiGHTS is here again. The mic is open. We talked a little bit among the crew about where we were in our discussions, and one of the things we want to do is go back a little bit more and talk some more about steroids and HGH, creatine, all of those enhancing type drugs that have been used over the years, and talk some more about some of the things that potentially happen, the dangers of it, and some of the rewards, why people think that the rewards outweigh the dangers. Talk to us, Clayton.
Well, we did talk a little bit about the rewards. It builds muscle mass, strength. Some people think it makes them faster and gives them a competitive edge. However, there are some dangers, a lot of dangers, with using these steroids, stuff like HGH, creatine, andro, and so forth. And some of the common side effects for men are enlarged breasts, severe kidney problems, severe heart problems, shrinking testicles.
Not the testicles where they were eating them before, right?
Yeah, they were eating them before.
Oh, gee. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure now. Okay.
Yeah, and in women, some of the side effects of using some of these products.
Hair in the chest, huh?
Hair in the chest, shrinking breasts, the elimination of a menstrual cycle, kidney problems, and heart problems.
Time out, Clay. So if you see a woman with hair on her chest, that means she's
It does not necessarily mean that.
Okay. All right. Hey, we got some listeners out there that'll be
right.
like,
No.
oh, I see hair on the chest.
Don't judge.
Okay. All right.
Don't judge.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
judge.
But some of the benefits, I mean, you're doing something that's illegal. And I don't know that that's well, for some that's the ultimate, but you got people that have taken it and come clean. We had Ken Caminetti, 1996 National League MVP. He came clean with his involvement with steroids, and then at the age of 41, he died of a heart attack. And they said a lot of it was because of the drugs that he was taking. I mean, it tears down your body over the long run.
Right. But you hit on one key point. Some of this stuff is not illegal. Some of these products are not illegal.
Wait a minute.
They are not against the law. They may be against the rules.
Okay.
But not necessarily illegal against the law. So you have these products that are out there. They're out there in the public domain. And they're available to everybody. Now, Major League Baseball has a list of substances you can't take. NFL has a list of substances you can't take. NBA has a list of substances you can't take. So forth with swimming associations.
Does everybody know what's on this list?
The athletes are supposed to know.
Okay. Now, supposedly they tell them, they go around, they do these tours and workshops and everything. Right. Mm-hmm. But what you said is, if you go if you're a big guy like me, you go in GNC and you see a product that says Fat Boy Lost Weight Program. And you grab those pills because you fat boy try to lose weight. So you grab the pills and you figure because you in GNC or Walmart or, if we get a sponsor for some of these, we'll say their title's a whole lot more. But you go to those type of things and places and buy them because you buy them over the counter, you think that they're okay, but in the end, they're still illegal.
Exactly. Some of these have products that are in these, that make up the item that you're buying, and a byproduct of it may be illegal. Let's say you're a football player and you're not supposed to take X, and you may have.
But do they really know, Clay? You hear guys say, "Well, it was in I had an over-counter medication and I had this."
They use that all the time. Hey, I had a cold. I took this medication. I didn't know it was in it.
Well, would you not think? And everybody said, "Well, I think that I would read the ingredient." But if you have a cold, you go home and you're not feeling well, your wife or significant other says you need to take this, it'll help you knock the cold out, you kind of take it. You don't say, well, let me look at it.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Research it.
And I'm saying that, there may be some truth that this happens, that they might not have known. That's why they kind of have more than one strike. They get 2 strikes, 3 strikes, whatever. But a point that is not illegal, but something you could get over counter, you just don't think that would present a problem for you in terms of passing the drug test.
Right.
Okay, now the drug test, we do drug tests in college.
Right.
And the kids, they call them a piss test.
Mm-hmm.
They call them, and they not only the kids, they get the staff too.
Exactly.
They'll call them and have you pee in a cup.
Right.
And then they go and analyze it and all of that. And a lot of this still starts even before then. To tell the truth, you go back and you look at the kids in high school that are trying to be better. They're trying to be bigger. They're trying to be stronger. You have some parents that push them to do this and take that. And, it creates a problem that in terms of trying to get that scholarship, in terms of trying to be old enough, better enough, ahead of everybody else in the age group.
It's the mindset of creating a competitive edge. And that's what you're trying to do. That's what drives this. is trying to get that contract, trying to get that college scholarship, trying to get that championship. That's what drives them. Now, what we were talking about earlier about the medications and so forth, that's a very unusual circumstance, but it does happen. It gets people eliminated, gets people suspended for taking something that's an illegal product.
Doesn't some of the cough syrups have codeine in them?
It does.
And that's that's on the banned list.
That's on the banned list. That's right.
Okay,
and that has gotten people suspended.
Now let's go back to competitive edge. Let's go back to the high school kid. We both have sons and daughters. You know, that played and were competitive, and you think that that you're aware of what's going on with them. Is it possible that a child could be taking something, and as a parent, you don't know that they're taking it?
Oh, sure. It's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it happens a lot.
Why
you got kids? You got kids who interact in their locker rooms, and you don't know what they're getting into. You don't know what they're getting into. You got kids. I saw it in high school. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and when I was growing up, I saw things being passed. Wrestling is very big in Western Pennsylvania, as you know, in Eastern Ohio.
Right.
I saw wrestlers pass around stuff in locker rooms that, in my estimation, they weren't on the up and up. I don't know if it was a banned substance or not, or even if it was banned at that time. But it was something trying to give them a competitive edge.
So you actually witnessed some of that.
Yes.
But again, let's go back. Would a parent know if you're looking at your son who I won't say all of a sudden, but he's working out, he's lifting weights, and you're looking at him, and as a dad, you say, man, you getting a little cut there, okay. Yeah, Dad, I'm lifting a little harder, I'm getting stronger. At what point do you really begin to wonder about what he's doing? He's gone from, and I'm just saying, as he's starting to gain weight, you trust your kids, so you kind of figure that they're not doing anything wrong, but at what point do you really begin to wonder if something is going on? Or what do you do if you think that something's going on?
Well, if you think something's going on, I think you have that child tested. You first go to the child.
Wait a minute. You're going to come to me and say, Mick, I want you to get tested. I'm going to say, tested for what, Dad? Yeah. And what you going to say?
I'm going to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm looking at you. I've been watching you work out and so forth, but, I just want to be on the safe side. Are you taking anything?
Dad, you don't trust me. You don't think that I'm doing this clean. You don't think that I could work hard enough to get bigger.
I think you can work hard. I think you can get that big on your own.
But Dad, I really ain't feeling taking no test now. I really don't. Dad, I don't want to take a test.
Well, that's where your parental discretion comes in.
So that ended the conversation there with you convincing me that I needed to do that. Okay, so that ended that test result right there.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you do have parents who they just assume that their kids can't be doing anything. But in this culture, this is a different culture. This is a different culture than when we grew up in as high school students in the early 70s. This is a totally different culture.
Well, and it is. Because you got situations where you got young ladies who are pregnant and parents don't know. Okay. And I've known of parents that really wanted their kids to be tall. So every night, they stretched them. And I'm like, what? And he would come back in the locker room, and I was like, man, get out of here. They were stretching. They'd be two grabbing his feet and pulling him, and two and grabbing him. I'm like, okay. I said, so, you about 6'4", so that meant, I'm like, were you like 5'11" at that time? Mm-hmm. And they stretched you to 6'4"? You just hit, they wanted me to be tall. Right. This is what we're going to do with Insights again. We're going to take another break. Some people call them commercial breaks, but we're going to call them a timeout right now, and Insights will be back. Stay tuned.
1, 2, talk that talk.
Okay, what's the biggest number you can think of?
A trillion, billion, zillion.
That's pretty big. How about you?
10.
Okay. How about you?
Infinity.
Can you top that?
Infinity and 1.
Actually, we are looking for infinity plus infinity. Sorry.
What about infinity times infinity? Oh.
It's not complicated. Bigger is better, and AT&T has the nation's largest 4G network.
And Insights comes out of that break. And where we're going now, we're going to talk a little bit about historically some of the things that have happened, and again, some of the things that people do. Because at one time in our research, Big Al gave us some information that showed us that caffeine was on the banned list.
Exactly. It was a banned substance.
And what did it do? It made you hyper or something, or kept you awake? I mean, I don't know about that. Wow.
Definitely made you hyper.
It definitely made you hyper. Wow. And we talked about some of the things that happened. They had a guy, Chris Benoit, and he killed his wife and his child. And when they tested it, I think he killed himself too. He had 10 times the level of testosterone in his system. 10 times, that's just incredible. Some of the NFL football players back in 2008 were suspended for taking what they call a diuretic. And out of it, they said they took it to lose weight, but it was banned because it's considered to be a masking agent for steroids. So, it's a lot of different things. And even in our research, one of the other things that we found out was that there was a drug or a pill that simulated pregnancy. And they called it abortion doping. And it referred to the practice of purposely inducing pregnancy for athletic performance enhancement benefits, then aborting
the fetus.
Then aborting it. And the so-called benefits were hormonal and other changes in pregnancy affect physical performance. In the first 3 months, it is known that a woman's body produces a natural surplus of red blood cells, the type that are rich in oxygen-carrying hemoglobin to support the growing fetus. A study of athletes before and after found that they found a 60% increase in blood volume, and this could improve the body's ability to carry oxygen to muscles by up to 30%. And they said several world records were set by female athletes shortly after giving birth to their first child. So this thing is just really all across the map in terms of things that are going on and what people do to try to get an advantage. Would you think people would go to that extreme?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that people go to that extreme. That's a product of what cycles were trying to accomplish when they were doing doping. They were taking products that increased the production of red blood cells and hemoglobin, which resulted in improved movement of oxygen into the muscles. And it gave them a competitive advantage.
Wow. Now there's two sports that really come to mind historically that have had problems: track and field and baseball. And let's go back to one of the most famous races of all time, the Olympic gold in '88, Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson's, and they call that one of the most tainted races in history because out of the 8 that were running in the final, 6 of them at one time, either before or after Olympics, tested positive. And the image I always have in my mind was Carl Lewis saying right after the race when they interviewed him, he said, "Man, Ben must have caught a flyer. He must have caught a flyer." Carl was just flabbergasted because Ben leaped out of the
he caught more than that.
Yeah.
He caught more than the fly. But yeah, that was probably the most tainted race I would imagine in history. That's where that should be something that should be listed. That should be taken out of record books, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
And it was though.
Yeah.
And what happened was during that time, the track and field drew more interest than it ever had before because of the record-setting times that were being broke almost every race between Carl and Ben. And Carl ended up being tested positive too, and had been tested positive prior to the race in the Olympic trials.
Right, but as we find out more and more about steroids and who's using steroids, do you see how it's actually tainting the event?
Good question. See, for some, yes. But I think that what people have done in these areas have turned the other cheek because they've allowed them to compete anyway. And because of the fact that it was drawing so much interest and fan support, we had FloJo. And I don't care what you say, that was the first sex symbol in track. Because all the men watched FloJo, and she had the outfits that had one leg and and the other leg was all the way. I was like, wow. All of us were like, woo, she's pretty. And she couldn't run. And as soon as the Olympics ran, she retired. She didn't run again. You know, and what people have done, you made a comment earlier, people tend to be ahead of the game in it. So they try to find something that when it's tested is not detected, or at that time is not illegal. And then when they find out that so-and-so is doing such and such, and they put it on the banned substance list. So does that make that individual, does it taint their accomplishments? And then you got baseball. Baseball, you know, is just one more week away from a major story with the expulsion of a number of athletes in baseball again.
I do think it taints the event. I think it also taints the athletes in general, not just the ones who got caught. I think it taints the entire game, especially in baseball. I mean, what is your, outside of your championship, what is your number one event in all the sports? I mean, mainly in the NBA, it's usually the All-Star game.
I don't know.
Same thing in Major League Baseball. Where you get an All-Star game, but then you also have your Hall of Fame.
Okay.
We had a Hall of Fame game this past week, and people don't even know about it. You know why? It's because, in my opinion, the tainting of the athletes with the steroid investigation has hurt the game of baseball. People didn't even pay attention to it. That used to be
agree with that.
Deal.
Yeah, because you had it was in the steroid era, and everybody watching them guys hit the baseballs off of the field.
Now you don't have anybody inducted to your Hall of Fame.
But now you don't have that same type of draw, so people don't watch. When you had,
that's what I'm saying, it taints your game.
No, because I don't agree with that. I think that the guys, when they did that, it saved the game. Because everybody watched. They had the commercial on ESPN with chicks dig the long ball. I agree. That was the short-term effect. Okay.
But I'm saying the long-term effect is, I believe it tainted your game.
Well, see, I think what they needed Clayton, in that time, we didn't develop any more superstars. All the superstars were steroid induced.
Exactly. That's my point.
You say exactly.
That's my point. Now you get a point where you got these guys who were in the steroid era, and they're not being voted to the Hall of Fame. Not that they're not eligible for the Hall of Fame, but they're not voted to.
Who cares if they go in the Hall of Fame? They made all that money because people went to see them play.
That's right.
They don't care if they went in the Hall of Fame or not. We got Charles Barkley, and he made a comment about the steroids with the baseball players.
Like, if you need one big contract and set you up for life with your signing bonus and everything, that to me is a very slippery slope. I think that's like the baseball thing. I told these guys, I said, listen, I grew up poor. If somebody told me I could take a shot in my ass, hit 50, 60 home runs, and make $17, $20 million a year, I'm not going to get on here and be a hypocrite. I'm going to do it.
There's going to be a line.
Yes.
There'll be a line.
It's so easy for people who got money and who want to play like they don't ever make mistakes. If I grew up poor in Alabama, somebody say, here's a shot, and you can make $20 million for the next 10 to 15 years. I says, I'll be there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. Charles even said, I mean, these guys got paid when they got big multi-year contracts, and everybody looking for that one more big contract. They 35 and made $50 million, but they want that one more big contract. But baseball itself turned their ear and didn't listen, turned their eyes, because they were like, man, these guys selling tickets. Everybody's watching them make this march. And they don't care if they go in the Hall of Fame. At the end of the day, Barry Bonds not going in the Hall of Fame. Don't bother him. He's sitting there, he's a multi-millionaire. San Francisco Giants, he don't go in the Hall of Fame. Don't bother him. So, I just think you in left field with that, Clayton.
No, I disagree with that. I think it does bother him. I think it does bother people like Pete Rose, which is a totally different issue.
Yeah, Pete Rose a gambler. That's another show.
But it's the same premise. These guys should be in the Hall of Fame, or you would think they'd be eligible to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame because of what he did off the field. He still hit what he hit. I mean, regardless, he didn't take any inducements. If he had been anything, he'd probably be drunk. But if he had been drinking, it was even more of an accomplishment that he was able to hit like that. But these guys, they were able to hit further, play longer because of what they had. And you take track. You take Carl Lewis and them. That Carl Lewis had tested positive before the trials. 2 or 3 times. They still let him run. Why? Because everybody was watching what was going on. Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson, FloJo get paid millions of dollars to go to track meets and just appear. Based on what they did before.
I don't disagree. It was about the money. I don't agree. I mean, I don't disagree.
See, you all stumble yourself. You agree, you don't agree. Which one is it now?
Do not disagree with you that it was about the money.
Okay.
In track and field.
Okay.
But what I'm talking about is your overall health and your overall.
That ain't what you're talking about. You're talking about going in the Hall of Fame.
Of your game.
Don't start down Interstate 10 and then jump off and go on 27 talking about you still going to Jacksonville.
Same highway.
Same highway. It probably is for you. So we understand then that they actually, I don't think that these guys that do this, Clayton, at the end of the day, they want to get paid. And baseball during that steroid era came back to life. And the reason nobody watched the All-Star game last week, you ain't got nobody in there hitting. Well, the only guy they had that could hit like that, what's wrong with him? He out on PEDs now. That's who everybody was following. And they had to know. So they turned up. Now they're going to suspend him what? For the rest of the season. Wow. For the rest of the season. So what we're going to do, Insights, we're going to take a break. And once we take this break, I'm going to hit Clayton with a left jab and a right cross. And when you come back, he's going to be sedated.
1, 2, talk that talk.
One more. Let's go, yo. One more. One more time. Come on. One more. Let's get it. Let's go.
Proven hydration to help replace what you sweat out.
One more championship. Let's go.
This is Insights, and I got a subdued Clayton Smith over here because I did hit him with a left and a right.
Not be subdued.
Can I see? That's because you on them steroids. took that blow, get right up. Oh, one of the things that as we head into our last segment, there's a couple things that we still need to touch on a little bit, and that's with baseball and all this stuff that's going on with them and this biogenesis lab and Ryan Braun, who just recently been suspended again, but he last year in February. He was the first major leaguer to win an appeal of being tested positive.
He won the appeal on a technicality because they said the way the evidence was handled or mishandled, and they decided just to go ahead and throw it out and not suspend him. So he got by on a technicality. But what's been found out was he's on this list that was this list of clients with biogenesis, and he has been suspended immediately, and he's done for the year. Now, there's also a question about whether is this a real deterrent for using PEDs.
Well, do this. Go back to biogenesis, and because the rumors are that this thing is really getting ready to blow up, and explain exactly what it is that really gave everybody this real concern with biogenesis, and what they were finding in documents. I'm not really sure that everybody's really kind of clear with that.
The main thing they find out with biogenesis is a lab in Miami that had a list of clients that they were helping to give PEDs to. And these are some.
And why is all this stuff always in Florida? I mean, man, here we go again. So they found a lab.
It's a climate.
It's like a lab, like Miami Vice. Right. They got a lab out there, and they found something on CSI that they're doing. They're creating ways to make athletes and people better, stronger, faster that aren't able to be detected.
That is correct. They're trying to stay one step ahead of the testing.
Wow. Okay, now where does Alex Rodriguez fit in this?
Well, Alex has had a role.
See, you having trouble spitting it. Alex and you're not cousins or nothing. You're not gonna have a problem
Never
with
met him.
Okay, never met him.
Never met him.
Okay,
Never
go
met
ahead.
him.
Go and say what you got to say.
Yeah. But Alex is supposedly a long-term user of PEDs.
Right, because he didn't admit to doing something early.
Exactly, and it's not known really how long. He could be an athlete who may have started as early as high school or minor league baseball. But anyway.
But stop. But see, we were talking about that earlier about when does it start? Because Alex was like a child prodigy coming out. I mean, he was like the next Superman baseball player that was going to change the complexion of the game. Right. And that was back when he was 15, 16, 17 years old. And
that's something we don't know the answer to right now. I mean, we'll find out. We'll eventually know when he comes clean. I mean, Pete Rose came clean on his gambling eventually. That's something that A-Rod will probably come clean on at some point. But it is suspected that he could have started as early as high school using some type of PEDs.
Well, why is it that we have all of these people that have been involved in it and then they lie and say that they wasn't doing it?
Let me start by telling you this. I have never used steroids, period.
I have never, ever failed a drug test.
Mr. Clemens, do you think Mr. Pettit was lying when he told the committee that you admitted using human growth hormones?
Mr. Congressman, Andy Pettit is my friend. He was my friend before this. He will be my friend after this. And again, I think Andy has misheard.
So why they just outright lie like that, Clayton?
Because they think they can get away with it.
But then they turn around and want forgiveness after lying. And, Lance Armstrong went and wanted to sue people and take them to court for lying on him. He just is going crazy telling his lies.
Well, yeah, Ryan Braun, who cost a FedEx driver his job, saying that this guy did this guy did that, which was, we found later on, was a total lie. And then he comes out, he does come clean on what he was accused of. But he just walks away like it's nothing. He say, I'll see you guys in March. See you in spring training.
Well, I mean, and they're coming out now, even talking about the NBA and players involved, and they got some names. And, we won't mention those names because, I mean, you just can't, because people could say anything.
And it could also involve some players at major colleges.
Right. And we've heard that too. And, I mean, one of them here in Florida. Right. But, even talking about the NBA guys and certain players being involved, and they're listing their names. But I just think that's, you could take a shot at somebody blind and say something, and then they spend the rest of their life defending it, But I really think that, we've hit on a really, really hot topic here today. It's something I'm sure we're going to touch on again in the future. And I think we have a really, really good show coming up next week. But we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back with insights, and we're going to be in the coach's office, and I'm going to wrap this up with my thoughts on what we talked about and where we are.
1, 2, talk and talk.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-woo! Ronnie, how happy are folks who save hundreds of dollars switching to Geico? I'd say happier than a camel on Wednesday.
Hump day!
Get happy. Get Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's time for your meeting with the coach in the coach's office.
Well, this wraps up the show, but I'm sure we'll talk about this topic again. I'm not really sure that there's an answer to this situation because we've been dealing with it for such a long, long time. And even though Clayton and I are on two different sides of the stick, I'm on the larger end, he's on the short end. Just like he rode on the short bus, he was on the short stick then. But we will have that type of discussion on various things. But we will be here and we'll have discussions across many sports and various arenas. If someone cannot see that it's detrimental to an athlete to do these type of things, why can't they use it? Some say it's cheating because everybody doesn't use it. Why is it various organizations allow it? Why do some others turn a deaf ear? Why do they become blind when it's right there in front of them? It's because of the money that's made off of these athletes. Everyone watched baseball during the steroid era, remember? And like I said earlier, chicks dig the long ball. We watched track when all the records were being broken. Now we don't even know who the best American sprinter is, male or female. The best PED was an accidental one made, this Viagra. And a lot of football players use that. And not always off the field, but on the field as well. The PEDs and physical enhancing drugs, would I use it? Yeah, I did. When I was working out and lifting weight, I figured if I got it over the counter at GNC, it was good. I would take things just because it was recommended to me. There was once a powerful weight loss pill with Xanadrin in it, or something like that, and it worked. I could fast and then take that pill, and it would kick my metabolism into gear. Not eating, my metabolism would slow down, but Xanadrin would make it go fast. I could lose 15 pounds in a week. Then it became something they took off the table and took it out of the products. I haven't lost weight like that since, mainly because I hadn't changed how I eat. Then there was another counter pill that was used, over-the-counter pill I had that was used to kick up your metabolism. And the first thing it tells you on the directions is not to take it at night. But naturally I did. I didn't sleep that night. A couple of days later, I took it when I went to work out with the guys. They wondered what in the world was wrong with me. Everything I said, I was talking extremely fast. Hey, you guys, you ready to go? It's time to lift. We got to go lift, all right? Everybody here to lift? We got to go now. We got to go lift. And I turned to look to see where everybody was, and everybody was sitting on the floor laughing at me. They were like, what in the world were you taking? I don't know what it was. It was something over the counter, so I figured it was legit. But they said, man, don't you ever take that again. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. You came here to lift weights today, so we need to lift weights. Y'all are just laughing. Get up, let's go. And I was wired all day. So I'm a slow learner on some things, but I did learn after that. PEDs, the cost that people do, the price they're willing to pay to take them for that edge. Is it really worth it? Only you can decide. Insights, giving you an inside look at athletics. The mic is closing, but only for the day. Join us next week.